Welcome to NF Stories Live. I'm Desiree Scher, the Executive Director of the Tumour Foundation, and I'm so excited that for our first NF Stories Live feature, I get to introduce Brandy, who after this video is going to be your host for this series. But welcome, Brandy. I'm so excited that you're here and we get to chat all about your NF journey.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share.
Yeah, I think so many of our community probably know you and your son Tyler's story, but take us right back to the beginning. Take us back to when you were diagnosed or when you thought something was off and you sought that diagnosis. So what was the beginning of your journey?
The beginning was when Tyler was about 4 months old. He had bowing and the right leg and some what I know now is cafe au lait spots, but just these brown spots. I'm like, I wonder what's going on. Went to his checkup at 6 months, and the doctor was like, oh yeah, it's okay. Everything will work its way out. I'm like, okay, come back at just before 9 months, and he's like, no, send you to a pediatrician. We went to the pediatrician, walked into the office, barely even said hi to me, and goes, your son has neurofibromatosis. I'm like, what? And it just mumble after that, right? When you hear something you've never heard of before, it hits you in the face. Or looking at my mom, I'm holding Tyler, and it mumbled, and it was an eye opener. I went home and did what I would suggest nobody do, but everybody does anyways. And what's that? You Google, right? And there's some scary stories out there. So, hopefully sharing our stories will make those ones not be there so much. But and yeah, that was the start of us. It was the pediatrician told us, and we were on our way. I'm very fortunate for our pediatrician. He did right away know with neurofibromatosis that there can be delays, and had already seen it in Tyler at the 9-month mark, that he wasn't eating, he wasn't doing all the other things that, like starting to eat the foods the other kids were. And so he sent us to the infant development program, and that got our ball rolling of getting therapies and things like that started for Tyler. So that was a really good thing that started for us.
And when Tyler entered school, what was the challenge there, or were there any?
School, we were lucky. Like I said, we went to the infant development program, and then we went to the Children's Development Center, and put us right into school. What was difficult was that you lost a lot of therapies when you went to school, and so that kind of was a bit of like, okay, now what? So he didn't have the speech that he had regularly. He didn't, none of those things were there. So I found that he lacked a little bit. But with Tyler, because of he had bowing of the right leg, so tibial dysplasia, he was breaking all the time. So by the time we got to school, he had already had 2 frames. He had already broken probably about 4 or 5 times. So for him going to school at a very young age, his anxiety was very high. So that was kind of a setback when we went to school, something new again. He didn't know and was sure. And so we did a gradual into school because of the anxiety. So, but he was always behind. So he had an EA right from the beginning. So we keep going.
And I mean, that's kind of was, 9 months and then entrance to school. Tyler's 11 now?
Yes.
And what's his biggest challenge, or what's the biggest challenge you face as a parent?
Anxiety.
The anxiety.
100%. Yeah. When you're at such a young age, and I think him having not, because he's so far behind. He's 11, but developmentally they put him at about a 5-year-old right now. He's going for an assessment again this year, and hopefully we'll get more of an understanding. So being behind, he doesn't have that understanding where to talk to another child at a certain age, you could explain it a bit more and they may understand. Not that the anxiety and the scared and the fear and all that wouldn't be there, but you can kind of talk to them and work it through. Tyler, there was just no, so at a very young age, like I said, the anxiety. And so now we have sleep issues. We have, when we're going places, there's continual questions and what's going on. And so like the anxiety brings trust issues and the fear of so much out there, right? So I'd say anxiety has definitely taken over a lot of his life. I mean, he's got the mobility issues because of, learning to walk over and over again. He's got fine motor issues. speech, to all those things. But those can be worked on. It's the anxiety that I find is what's holding this back the most, because it puts a mental block for him. So that's, I would say anxiety is our biggest struggle for sure.
So if there was a parent in front of you now whose child was dealing with anxiety, what tip would you give them? Is there something that's worked for Tyler that would work or you would offer to another parent?
Slow down,
Mm.
patience, right? Breathe and take it easy. It may seem like you've got this huge road in front of you that's never ending, right? And to focus now, like when Tyler has a good night of going to sleep with not much anxiety, and you take that, that's a win. You take those little wins and try to focus on those. Tyler, I'm trying to teach him the breathing, and I'll find that he does it now without me necessarily having to say
Mm.
anything. So he'll be like, I'm scared or whatever, and all of a sudden he'll go and breathe it out, right? And he's trying to calm himself
Mm.
down. So
Brilliant.
I think breathing is probably a really good one, because it's something that a child can take with them, right? So I would say, to try to teach the breathing. As for a parent, if you are calm, they are also calm, right? So, and I know that's easier said than done, it really is. So if you can find practices for yourself, that can also be beneficial. I journal. If you can take those few minutes for yourself to stop and breathe, take a few deep breaths in, focus on a few things right in front of you that can center you and ground you, I think would be really good. That helps me get through. I found when I started to be more calm going to an appointment, instead of me worrying about all what can happen or things like that, if I calm myself before, I found Tyler would also be a bit more calm. So
I think our kids are always looking at us for clues on how to react in a situation. I love what you said just about slowing down, because I think as busy moms, working moms, we're trying to do too many things all at once, trying to meet everybody's needs. So I love that slowing down, the breath work, the self-care practices. And when we do those, our kids see them, and we'll begin to model like Tyler is. That's so beautiful that you're giving him those gifts.
yeah.
Along the way, what's the best resource? I know you mentioned the infant development program, but were there other resources that were helpful for you?
um Support family. When I found you guys, we found you guys very early. Our first symposium was back when Tyler was just learning to walk. At He had been around 2. And we came, and it was just really nice to find the community and the support and know. So the foundation has definitely been something that we've stayed with right from the get-go, and having the resources and being able to talk like we are now, right? I know with COVID we can't, but to go to the symposiums and stuff like that and to connect with the families was really nice, to have that support and know that you're not alone, right? To have somebody else who, yes, our journeys all look different, but we have something that we can come together and support each other in, and the understanding, right? So
Yeah.
I'd say that's been a really good support, right?
Well, I know you were involved with the foundation for 6 or 7 years before you took on part of the team as a staff role. So yeah, you do practice what you preach. Let me ask you, I mean, in your journey as with Tyler, has there ever been a time when a physician wanted to do a treatment maybe that you didn't agree with?
Um, no, I have to say I was actually one who I almost wanted to push a treatment. I wanted Tyler's leg straight so fast, right? I wanted, why can't it be straight? If it being bowed is making it weaker, like if you think of a tree branch, right? It can break easier the more it's bent. Why aren't we fixing that? Why aren't we, like, and it was the doctor saying, no, we have to wait. You have to be patient
Mm.
in that part. So I have to say more, I was fighting for what or bringing up and saying, well, what about this, and questioning, and asking for things more than not wanting something done for others. So for me, it was the other way. Maybe others have felt that way. I don't know, but
Yeah. No, that question just kind of popped up because you've spent a lot of time at Children's Hospital and infant development hospitals, and now Sunny Hill Hospital as well. So how do you feel like, or what do you do to feel part of that healthcare team? And because I know a lot of physicians don't know about neurofibromatosis. Have you ever encountered a situation where you've had to educate? And
Sorry.
you laugh, but okay, so I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so, how do you do that in a respectful manner where the information that you share as a parent is welcomed?
I think just coming from as a parent, honestly, as a concerned parent, you're not coming in with, you know, like a bull in a china shop, but you're coming in from a concerned standpoint. You're coming in from, this is what my son has. Let me, tell you about it, right? Like, it can have this and this, and these are suggested treatments for it that I can show you. Like we've got the pamphlets and stuff like that to show them to say and explain it. And if you come from more from a concerned um, parent, I think is then it would be welcomed. Where if you come in no like really harsh, I think it's just coming from more from a concerned standpoint. I think then they look at it and take it a little bit more softer than.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a great tip for all those parents out there that are in that position. What do you believe is the most most misunderstood part of neurofibromatosis?
I think there's two for me and people that I've talked to. Those who have the cutaneous neurofibromas, people think they're contagious. They've got something that they're going to catch, and that is completely misleading, right? I mean, there's nothing that can be contagious or caught. And then the other one is that, well, is it really that bad? Like, so you got a bump here or there, and whether they're internal or not, are they really that bad? And they are, because some of ours are inoperable, right? Like you can't touch them, and they can grow, and they, it's not like you can go in and remove it, or you can take said medication for it. We don't have anything. I mean, we've got the one that just got approved in the States, but so I think that is misleading, that they go, oh, okay, so you've got a, oh, well, it's not cancerous, you're good to go, right? No, it's not. So I think thinking that it's not as bad as what it is, like it, a lot of times it's not, don't get me wrong, but I think that is the misleading part. Like, you're not that bad, you're okay, right? Or you're contagious, get away from me, right? So one spectrum to the other, right?
Yeah, there's still a lot of awareness that needs to come both out in the community to build up, I think, tolerance and acceptance of people that look different, as many people with neurofibromatosis do, as well as with, I think, the medical community. What is the biggest lesson you've learned on the NF journey?
It's opened my eyes tremendously. Like I was just talking with my mom the other day, like before, it's not that you didn't know things were out there, but NF has like opened my eyes to the whole community of neurofibromatosis, and that there's so many different rare diseases out there that aren't brought into the light, right? Because what do you hear about? Not that I'm just diminishing it at all, but cancer, diabetes, MS, those type of things are huge out there, right? Arthritis, all those type of things. But then there's these little ones that are hugely affecting people's lives, and there's nothing for it. So NF has really opened my mind to that, and that there has to be more awareness out there. People have just got to share. Like I'm one that when we're out, people can see there's something different with Tyler. He wears a brace on his leg. He moves a bit different. He talks a bit different, and they'll ask, "Oh, what does your son like? Is your son okay? Does he have?" And they do automatically go to a form of like autism or something like that. And then I have to say, no, he has neurofibromatosis. And I take that 2 seconds just to say it. You might think it might not mean anything, but it opened that door and it brings awareness. So I think just opening my eyes to that, the whole world, that and the amazing people of neurofibromatosis, like it's, there's strong people out there. All I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of conundrum around neurofibromatosis because, I mean, we say that it is one of the most common single gene disorders, but it also fits under rare diseases. And when you look at rare diseases, it's 1 in 7 Canadians are somehow affected by rare diseases, which is a huge number. But you're right, if you're not kind of the top 3 of, heart, stroke, or cancer, you just, one, don't get the awareness or the funding or perhaps the compassion. And I think that's the piece that we really need to work towards just having compassion for those that struggle with these rare disorders, especially neurofibromatosis.
Yeah, it's just not talked about. It's not like you said, we're having to still educate, and we're still learning about it at that,
Yeah.
right? So all the time we're learning different techniques and ways and to deal and cope with the condition, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
If you were going to design a billboard to increase that awareness that's so much needed for NF, what would you design on it?
The faces, as many faces as we can get out there that people are willing to share their faces for, to show the difference of NF and bring awareness to it, and have some type of slogan. I don't know what it would be, but neurofibromatosis, ask about it or something, right? But it's the faces, getting us the faces out there so that people are aware and can see what it is, and then ask the questions, and then we can educate, right, and bring awareness to it. I think would be the best thing.
I'm always so thankful that you share your story, because you are on a variety of social media platforms, not just for the Tumour Foundation, but also personally sharing your story. And you're 100% right. That is the way that we are going to increase awareness, increase fundraising, increase research, is by bringing NF out of the shadows. But from the dark to the light, let's talk about what is perhaps a funny story or a funny moment that with Tyler and NF. Is there something that comes to mind?
When he was in the hospital when he was younger, Tyler loves music, always has. And so his brothers were watching some YouTube video or some video, and it was Bruno Mars's Lazy Song, right? Monkey's head and everything like that. And he loved it. And so when we were in the hospital, the nurses, you'd have child life and nurses, is there anything that we can do to get, to make his, whatever. And it's like, you got Lazy Song, like, and that, because if the internet was, and literally one of the child life ladies went and actually burnt the CD for him so he could have it on one of the things, because if you've ever been in BC Children's, the Wi-Fi isn't always necessarily the greatest. And so, the video would go in and out and he would get frustrated. So if he had it on CD, he could watch it over and over again. So it was really funny, like them seeing him and liking that. So that was really something very cute. And because Tyler has speech delay from the NF, he used to always say, kind of like it. I kind of like it. So instead of I don't like it or anything like that, he'd say, I kind of like it. So when we were doing speech therapy and even through school, I'd say, don't touch that phrase, because we love it. It's something that made Tyler was, I kind of like it. So it was just really cute. No matter what we would do, he would be, I kind of like it. That'd be like one of his first, like, I have to say 10 words was, I kind of like it. So that's one thing that, we take.
Oh, that's great. And I think it just really hits on just, NF is just, another special characteristic of Tyler, right? Just, and I love just your Instagram stories where he's always dancing or kind of swaying to music. That's a really big part of his life. Yeah,
he loves music. It's something he can do, right? So it keeps him going and energized and moving, which is good.
Yeah, dance party time.
Yeah, exactly. It's very nice.
Well, so grateful that you were willing to be the first NF live story. It's so grateful for all that you do for the foundation and for families. Any final last words before we wrap up?
Don't give up. Just don't give up. Keep pushing forward. There's, like you said, from dark to light. You'll have your bad days, but focus on the good and keep pushing forward. And we're here. The NF community is here if you ever want to talk. Like we say, no one walks alone, right? So just know that you're here, we're here, we're all together, and just one day at a time. Try not to think too far.
Hey, that's awesome.
Breathe.
Breathe. That is a great word to leave all of us with, not just our kids, but also as parents and anybody else watching. Take that time to slow down and to breathe. Thank you, Brandy. I look forward to seeing you back at the office. But in the meantime, thanks for being here and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. See you guys all later.
Bye.
Bye.